The topic of today's video is going to be critical points in conversations. And when I say conversations, I literally mean any conversation that you have with your prospects. It can be in the DMs, where you're obviously trying to book the call, that's your end goal, or it can be the sales call where you're obviously trying to close the deal. So your end goal is to either book or close, depending on what you're currently doing. But when it comes to those critical points in those conversations, I imagine it's something like this. You have two thresholds that you can't cross by any means, because these two zones above and beyond of those thresholds are something I imagine as friend zones. So there's a friend zone number one and there's a friend zone number two. And it's same in life. When you're trying to get the girl out, obviously, you are trying to avoid being friend zone, because if you're her best friend, then you're not gonna get anywhere with something more serious. And it's same in sales, right? Because when you're trying to discover prospects goals, desires, and what's he trying to do in the near future, you're obviously trying to be friendly and having a genuine conversation that flows naturally, that flows something like this. I imagine it being like this, just the convo flowing naturally. You're being friendly, trying to find out more about what they want to do, what are the pain points that are actually stopping them from getting there where they want to be. And then those little spaces in between are those questions that you're asking, like where you're from, what is it that you do, what brings them in that space where they're in. Like if you're in a b2c space, then obviously you're going to ask something like, let's say in my example, that would be appointment setters, because besides me running the setter science system where I help coaches make an extra 15k in cash collected every single month with the use of science trained setters, I'm also coaching men how to become those science trained setters. And then when I'm asking them questions to qualify and generate their interest before booking a call and closing them, I will ask things such as where you're from, what do you do for work. Then I'm curious what brings you here wanting to start appointment setting or all the other side hustles floating around. Then some micro commitments such as I have a video explaining more about how to get started, would it help if I sent it over. And those are those questions, those little spots in between, those spaces in between, that are actually making the convo to flow naturally. But when it comes to qualifying their income, such as things, for example, how much would you actually have saved that you would be willing and capable of investing into reaching your goals, or in B2B space, I think that's equivalent to what goal would you have, or where would you like to be in the next 3 to 6 months, and then like what's stopping you from achieving those goals. I think that's similar, because those are very sensitive topics, because no one would just open up to a stranger. And at those points in conversation, that's where it gets a lot more closer to this friend zone line that you can't cross. Because obviously when you're asking more personal questions, you're going to be a lot more friendly. You're going to be a lot more friendly, a lot more like relaxed, all light-hearted and stuff. But in reality, your true intention is just to qualifying, would he be able to afford your services, which will ultimately make you money if he is able to afford your services. And to get back at that B2C example that I was talking about for my appointment setting program, where I mentioned the question about their funds that they are ready to invest, or their goals, like let's say how much would you like to be making in the next 6 months with appointment setting, and why do you feel you'd be successful in this space. He can say something like, oh, I'd like to be making 5k a month, and I feel I'd be very successful because I want to quit my 9 to 5, I hate my boss, those parts of convo. Those answers are actually somewhere right here. And then when it comes to me being friendly and being too friendly, even trying too hard to be likable by them, I might as well go above this line or beyond this line, obviously, and proceed with asking a question such as, why do you want to quit your job so much? And then he can say it's so shit to work for a dickhead of a boss that I have. It's so shit to wake up very early in the morning to work for, I don't know, 2k, which is his monthly salary potentially. It's so shit to exchange my very valuable time for money. I can't spend time with my family as I would like to, and so on and so on. And then me crossing that line would mean that I actually proceeded to ask a question, some extra question, which would dive a lot deeper. It would dive that deep that it wouldn't even have to do anything with sales. Those questions that I would proceed to ask would be completely irrelevant. And one example would be, now since I mentioned that he is not able to spend so much time with his family as he would like to, I can ask him, why do you feel that, why do you want to spend so much time with your family? Something completely terrible. And that's what you want to avoid. You want to avoid asking those questions, because when you get too personal with them and when you get too friendly with them, you're literally in their friend zone. You're in friend zone, and then it's very hard to recover and get back to this part of the conversation where you're still trying to qualify them and see would they be a good fit. It's very hard to get back inside and ultimately book him on the call or close him. At that point, it's just going to be a friendly talk, the same talk that you would have with one of your best friends. And yeah, obviously you're not gonna try to sell something to your best friend, and inside their mind you will be a best friend to them, but inside your mind you just failed at making money. Pretty much you just failed at making money. And this video is going to be very short because I don't think that's a topic that needs so much covering, but when it comes to you having those conversations, this is the furthest you want to go with those personal questions. You should never cross this line, because once again, it's going to be very, very hard to recover from being friend zoned. Very, very hard. And that's why you want to stay away from asking those very irrelevant questions that doesn't have to do anything with your sales process. Like I said, sales process either in the DMs or in the sales call, whatever. And one very big advice, one massive advice that I would give you is just to have some sort of a script to follow that would just serve you as a backbone of your conversation if you feel stuck, and you can just fall on to this to kind of remind yourself what to ask next. And there's also one formula that in these types of conversations and in these specific scenarios that you want to implement and utilize, it's called, I like to call it ACA formula. ACA formula. It stands for acknowledge, compliment, ask. So let's say right here where I mentioned that he feels very disciplined and very motivated to quit his shit job, you wouldn't go far. You wouldn't go too deep inside the topic of him wanting to quit his job. You would just compliment his mindset, say something like, "Sounds amazing, bro. Sounds like a great set of qualities you possess." You see, you acknowledged, you complimented, and then you just proceed to ask another question, just so you can get a lot closer. I mean, just so you can get back to this black line, which is where you want to keep your conversation flowing. Because once again, getting too close to this threshold, both here and here, is never good. Being too friendly is never good. And the thing is that, especially in B2B space, I found out that no business owner likes betas. Everyone wants to speak with true G's, with the true authorities in their space, and that's, you being too friendly and too likable is not going to get you inside their mind as an actual authority, right? So yeah, just stay inside this space right here. Don't break this, don't cross this line, and I'm sure you're going to land more deals and book more calls. Thank you for watching. Like I said, not a long video, and see you in the next one.